seems to me that the extrovert glides through life without a care in the world. The introvert, on the other hand, has it a little bit more challenging. And from personal experience, because I think I'm also an introvert, I know how difficult it is for the introvert to fit into a team sport environment. That's why I think golf is such a fantastic game for the introvert. Now, let's just look at Henry as an example. Now, Henry is a young man at my golf club who's an excellent golfer. But Henry he talks with a stutter. Now, because of that, as a child, he was mocked and bullied at school, and as a result, he withdrew from socializing with the other kids and became an extreme introvert. But luckily, Henry discovered golf, and I think it was a lifesaver for him because golf, you don't need anybody to play with or against, or you can practice on your own for hours without a problem. And through golf, Henry found something that he could excel at. And talking of Henry, I was booked to play with Henry and Mr. Min at the Milnerton Golf Course some time ago. Now, the Milnerton Golf Course is a lovely golf course next to the Atlantic Ocean and close to Table Mountain, and lovely views of Table Mountain from almost every hole on the golf course. But on this particular day, the atmosphere was really strange. Mr. Min wasn't his old jovial self. In fact, I thought he was downright rude and irritable, and at the time I thought maybe he had a fight with his wife. And Henry, excellent golfer, but on that day he played like an absolute beginner. So, with a strained atmosphere that existed, I tried to carry the conversation and tried to lift the spirits with a joke or two, but I failed miserably. And then at the 19th hole, we were drinking our beers in stony silence, when suddenly Mr. Min banged his fist on the table and he turned to Henry and shouted at Henry, "Henry, how could you have done that to Mary?" So now I'm sitting there, I'm confused, and Henry, wide-eyed Henry, now when he's nervous, he stutters even worse. So he's trying to explain, but the words just doesn't come out. So Mr. Min again yelled at Henry and said to Henry that, "How could you have assaulted Mary? And now Congo doesn't want to talk to me." Well, slowly, very slowly, but surely the story then came out, and this is what happened. Congo was very worried about his daughter Mary. At the time she was about 25 and still staying at home, and Congo was worried that she doesn't have a boyfriend, she doesn't have friends, she doesn't socialize with anybody, and she's just sitting at home the whole time. And Mr. Min, the extrovert that he is, agreed with Congo and said, "But you know, that's very unhealthy," and made the suggestion to Congo, "But why don't they introduce Henry and Mary to each other?" Because now, according to Mr. Min, Henry is now socially awkward, and maybe the two will understand each other and be good for each other. So to cut a long story short, the Friday evening before we played at Milnerton, Henry and Mary was supposed to go on their first date. And Henry arrived at Congo's house, but at that time his car developed some mechanical problem, and Henry was concerned that the car is going to leave them stranded next to the road. And he mentioned that, and Mary suggested, "But why don't they take her car, but Henry must drive?" So now that is what happened. and Henry is now in the driver's seat, and Mary is now in the passenger seat. But Henry couldn't engage reverse gear. This is a manual gearbox, and he struggled. So Mary was now there, and she was like leaning over and explaining to Henry, but he must lift the knob, the gear knob. He must lift it up and then slide it into reverse. So now Henry told me afterwards that he's now there and he's struggling to get it in reverse, and he can't get it up, and he's worried that Mary's gonna think he's a wimp. So he pulled extra hard on this gear knob, and suddenly the gear knob broke off, and his hand shot up and hit poor Mary in the face, and there was just blood everywhere. So poor Mary had to then get medical attention, and that was the end of the blind date. The end of, I think, both of them, their first blind date or first date in their life. That was now the end of it. And so I'm not sure what the moral of the story is, but it just goes to show that golf is not just fun and games. Sometimes there's a bit of drama too.